inevitably some timer ballers who are watching this for shits and gigs.
Or,
Today,
for playoffs.
yeah, true. Today, Lazadin and I are coming at you live with some analysis of the quick ball draft and advice for these players as far as like what to think about when they're playing or prepping sets, as well as providing a couple sample sets for you guys.
Yeah. Um, as well as there will be some general advice at the end, and hopefully not too much flame.
Yeah, we'll try and be nice. Timer ballers are the one that we get to take out all our anger on. Well, without further ado,
Your draft sucks, Diggory. I'm allowed to say that because we lost one today.
no salt, no salt. Yeah, hang on, let me check. Yes, things look like they're recording fine. If they aren't, I'm gonna cry, but whatever. Alright, first up, Whiskey Tattoo. So, the blue team is coming at you hot with Urshifu Rapid Strike, Incineroar, Amoonguss, Pelipper, Mega Swampert, Linoon, Clefairy, Klinklang, Drifloon, Galvantula, and you know what that means? It's a rain team.
Yeah. I think it's it's a really... The weather teams are really nice, especially for newer players to the format, because they can just kind of they build themselves really easily. They're a lot easier to pilot than some of the weirder teams out there. It's a nice beginner friendly team.
Yeah, I think having like the one specific mode that you can fall back on is really reliable, and having that in a draft league really allows you to like play with all of the different styles that, like, you know, not all rain teams are the same.
Yeah.
So
But
yeah,
there is the flip side of, because you have your one style, it's very easy. You're very predictable. Like, it's very difficult to justify not bringing Pelipper, Swampert, and Urshifu to every battle. So
yeah. I think that's also a thing to think about when people are going to be prepping against you. Is like, all right, they know that you're going to be having these electric and grass weaknesses. How are you going to offset that? Because, like, you know, offensive grass threats are normally checked by fire, but Incineroar's Flare Blitzes are going to be mitigated by weather as far as how much damage they can do. So whether that means you bring Drifblim for like an acrobatics or whatever, it's just important to think about how like telegraphed your weaknesses are.
mm-hmm.
So I guess we can... Oh, I guess in final notes about the draft. So you have a lot of good components for your rain team. A couple standout Pokemon that don't quite fit that theme are Linoon, Klinklang, and Drifblim. And that's not to say there's no merit. Like, obviously, Klinklang appreciates the rain because it has a fire weakness, but these Pokemon that aren't as cohesive with the theme, you need to think carefully about what you want to do with them and how it like won't break synergy with the rest of your core.
Yeah. And even Instant to an extent is a little bit difficult in the rain because of the fact that your Flare Blitzes really aren't doing that much.
Yeah, but using it more as a utility mon with, you know, Fake Out Pressure, Intimidate, Parting Shot, there's still a lot of viability there. Just be mindful of your opponent running water moves, because Incineroar's bulk means a lot less when it's taking an extra 50% damage off of every super effective hit.
Yeah.
All right.
I've got the first team.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is your bog standard. And I'm going to get this out of the way. I'll say this at the beginning and we'll say it again at the end. Do not copy paste these. These are not optimized for any particular opponent. These are generalist teams that need to be modified for every particular match. But with that out of the way, this is a bog standard rain team. You got, you know, your Delibird Swampert synergy, Damprock Delibird because...
Did you say Delibird? Hello?
Hello? Pelipper. It's the same Pokemon, you know?
Kind of.
You know, Weather Ball, Hurricane, U-Turn. It's not going to do that much damage, but really it's just there to... You throw it out there, it presses Drizzle, and you press U-Turn. Later gamer.
Yep.
Swampert got its stabs, and then Darkest Lariat provides a lot of neutral coverage. Urshifu Rapid Strike. It's something we didn't really touch on, but like Urshifu Rapid Strike really, really loves the rain because its water stabs are like it already has pretty overwhelming power, But even an Aqua Jet off of this thing in the rain is going to absolutely murder fools.
Yeah.
Then Galvantula, because it can spam Thunder, and Sticky Web is very nice for speed control, which outside of Swampert, this team does not have great speed control unless you're running Driftblim.
Yeah, no real. I think Kling Klang is the only Trick Room setter, and then Pelipper and Driftblim are the only Tailwinders, which
Yeah.
but all have their very obvious weaknesses. So you need to make sure either like redirection with Clefairy or Amoonguss, and make sure you have the stability to keep speed control.
Yeah, Among Us, obviously, like 90% of the time, you're gonna run something that looks somewhat like this. A Black Sludge is just too broken on it, and yeah. And then Clefairy, that is a typo. That is supposed to be Moonblast, not Meteor Mash.
Close enough.
Do not run Meteor Mash on your Clefairy.
We will know if you copy paste this set, because we'll see Meteor Mash Clefairy.
Yep, you can go right ahead.
Also, yikes, Cute Charm, cringe, make that friend guard.
Oops.
Yikes, what is happening? This is the worst Clefairy I've ever seen.
Are you sure? I could make it worse.
I mean, I did run Meteor Beam on one, so...
What's special attack, like 70?
If it's that high, it's V-bad. Anyway, do you have anything else to add on the Rain team?
Yeah. The Rain team's a bit difficult to, like, edit the slots. Like, you can kind of switch Galvantula out and maybe Amoonguss, but it's like you really need Amoonguss to eat grass and electric hits. Galvantula, maybe you could justify switching it out for Driftblim or Linoon or Incin, but everything else feels pretty necessary.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess Clefairy too, but you do want the redirection.
Yeah, anything to keep those 4-time super effective hits off of your, I don't want to say frail, but not bulky guys.
Yeah. I mean, like, Swampert can take a hit or two, but Pelipper's, like,
yeah.
I call it Toilet Bird for a reason.
A Volt Switch and it is out of here.
Yeah. Yeah. This is your bog standard stat, and Meteor Bauer is going to tell you about the exact opposite of that.
So, in the event that you don't want to run a Rain team, keep your opponents on their toes, may I introduce you to the power of Fling Weakness Policy. So, Fling, for anyone who doesn't know, is a move that throws the item that you hold at your target, and it does a variable amount of damage based off of what item you're throwing. Heavy items like fossils and whatnot, Iron Ball, have power of like 130 or something, and then berries, which are extremely light, have a base power of like 10. So you can proc your own weakness policy if you have something that's weak to dark, such as Driftblim, which also has Unburden, which means once your item is used, you get double the speed. So, all this comes together to mean that turn 1, you lead Driftblim Linoon, have Linoon fling a Landsat Berry, which sharply increases your critical hit ratio, at your Driftblim, proc your own weakness policy, and then double your speed, ta-da, and have double attack and special attack, and increase crit chance. This is a fucking nightmare.
I'm pretty sure it's like a 50-50 of critting on every hit.
Yeah, I don't know if... I think the only, like, extra crit chance move that Driftblim gets is Air Cutter, if anything. So if you want to make it 100% chance, you can run that. But Acrobatics also synergizes well with this because you won't have an item.
Yeah.
So, and if you decide that, you don't want Driftblim to be the only one, or to be the one, like, the ultimate receiver of all of these buffs, you can just Baton Pass immediately. You will lose the Unburden boost, but you can, like, just juice up any of the other mons on your team. One additional interesting, like, thing that comes from this is Linoon having pickup means that after the weakness policy is procced, Linoon just gets a weakness policy at the end of the turn, which if you fling it does like 80 damage, or you can keep it yourself to deter fighting moves from coming in and just,
Yeah.
start wrecking shop.
Much of a deterrence because Linoon is likely going to get O-code if it gets hit super effectively, but
Yeah. But it gives you a base 80 dark coverage move, which is, it's something. Lets you hit ghost types.
yeah.
Everything else on the team is pretty standard, either providing support for Driftblim or whatever you decide should be like the ultimate receiver of these boosts. So Clefairy's Heal Pulse, Follow Me, Helping Hand all exist to make your partner's life a lot easier. Incineroar provides Parting Shot pressure, and Fake Out for that matter, against Pokemon that Driftblim doesn't necessarily, again, anyone on your team. It basically acts as a deterrent by either stealing a turn from them, which gives your sweeper, free real estate, or Parting Shot to cripple things that would ordinarily threaten your sweeper. And Amoonguss, you know how that works. And then Urshifu is there as a strong, receiver for these buffs. Oh, it has just occurred to me that this is slightly off screen. The last move from Amoonguss is Protect. Let me see if I can't get that on screen.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Kind of cuts off the image, but no. Hang on. Fucking OBS.
It's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, that fourth move slot's pretty flexible anyway. Like, Amoonguss doesn't... Like, Protect is a staple of doubles, but there's Pokemon like Amoonguss who can... they don't really need it. Like, that Vincent doesn't even have Protect, for example.
Yeah. Oh, and one thing that the first Amoonguss set doesn't have that this one does is Pollen Puff, which is a very useful either offensive bug move with like 90 base power or something, or if you target a partner, functions like a heal pulse. So do with that what you will.
It is slow, which means that it's not as good as it could be, but, it's still good.
Yeah. All right. Anything else to add on to this, or shall we move on to Stormy?
Yeah, I think we're good.
One final thing I will note about this team is you don't feel like you have to fling Lansat Berry because there are other things that you can boost. Like if you fling Pataya or whatever, you get an additional special attack boost. If you fling, what's it called, Salak, then you get an extra speed boost. Not that you need it after Unburden, but And Drifloon also has a couple other move options like Weather Ball if you decide to run Rain with this anyway, or Explosion. So you got options.
Yeah. Plus 2 Explosion is hard to deal with.
Yeah, just make sure you have something that you can protect next to it.
I would also throw out there that this is by no means Linoon's best usage. It is just a usage of Linoon.
Yeah.
Linoon is usually just belly drumming screen speed shenanigans, but this is just us showing another usage of it.
Yeah. All right. On to Stormy. Here we are. Team
that.
Yeah, that image is powerful, and I haven't decided if it's in a good way or a bad way. Excuse me, bad way yet. I'm leaning towards bad. So yeah, Stormy's team is, Shaman Sky, obvious threat, Thunderous Rotomwash, Chandelure, Conkeldurr, Zoroark, Mega Aggron, Mr. Mime, Tentacruel, and Dunsparce. And so you can see, I think David mentioned this in the overview video, your team's strat is to be degenerate. What?
Hold up, why does that Mr. Mime only have 2 moves?
Well, it's there.
I mean, that's the only roll 2.
It's the 2 you need. Maybe a wide guard, maybe a, any offensive move, but it's fine. Like, again, we'll know if you copy paste these. But yeah.
Oh, you know what it was? We're demonstrating that Mr. Mime as of Generation 8 can run both of those in the same set now.
Ah, yes, this was calculated. So yeah, overall thoughts, you have a good variety of like offensive pressure. However, your physically offensive threats require a bit of support. Like Conkeldurr really appreciates Trick Room. Mega Aggron needs that extra turn to get set up before it can actually start heavy hitting.
Yeah.
And doesn't have great special defense to pair with that.
Yeah.
So
Realistically speaking, the only thing Mega Aggron's going to be hitting hard with is body press, which
body press or heavy slam. Yeah.
Body press or heavy slam.
Another thing to note is like you have an interesting mix of speed tiers, which makes you adaptable for both Tailwind and Trick Room, but you have a lot less or fewer Pokemon viable to pure Trick Room teams, and the ones that are leave you with like low damage or the potential to get undersped because your lowest is 45, and it's rather easy to check your opponent, see if they have anything that can underspeed you, and it poses a threat to Conkeldurr or, God forbid, Dunsparce or Mega Aggron.
Yeah, and the setters are pretty fast too. Like Chandelure is going to get undersped really easily.
Yeah, same with Mime.
I actually don't remember Mime space.
It's 90.
Oh.
Yeah. It's all right. I mean, it functions fine as a Trick Room setter. Filter really helps it like stay alive at least long enough to take a hit before popping it. But once it's up, like you're probably going to want to switch Mime out. Oh yeah, and about type synergy, you have a couple weaknesses to common types like Ice and Rock, especially in your higher tiers. Try not to stack them all in one match. And make sure that you have coverage moves either on those Pokemon or preferably on teammates that can actually tank those hits to make sure that they aren't just sitting ducks.
In particular, and this is actually true of Whiskey's team too, we just forgot to mention it, Freeze Dry is your worst enemy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Luckily, there's all of 2 people in Quick Ball that get Freeze Dry, and please do not run Specs Mamoswine.
Yeah, it's Mamoswine, and I think Mamoswine on Egg's team and Lapras on Posts.
Yeah. So be wary of that.
Yeah, that will wreck shop. But anyway, you want to go through your set?
Oh, I was scrolled up. I was like, where the heck is Stormy sets? All right. So Shaman has a nice Tailwind setter. Wide lens, so you don't miss your Seed Flares and Air Slashes, because that is really just the worst. I mean, who would miss 90% accurate moves at critical times?
Yeah, no, can't think of anyone. Must be a bad player.
Yeah. Mental Air, but New Thunderous, because I didn't really have anything else to put there. This is a more disruptive Thunderous set. You can run it as a physical attacker as well, or even a special attacker. Any of those work. Although Thunderous does have a bit of an issue with getting Flying Stab, especially.
I think the 4 special attack with only Thunder Punch as your offensive move is an interesting choice.
Yeah, that was probably a Showdown default.
Thanks, Showdown.
We didn't particularly put a lot of thought into the EVs here because they're not meant to be actually used.
Yeah, please tailor these to your opponent's like critical points to see what helps you survive super effective hits.
Yeah. And you get those important Okos.
Yeah.
Rotom Wash. This is a more offensive Rotom set. Rotom can be run offensively or defensively. This is pretty bog standard otherwise, though. Choice Specs Zoroark. Zoroark is a very, very difficult Pokemon to use. And you have to be very wary of it, because if you are caught off guard, it can murder you really, really easily. This has 2 fire moves, but that's because Burning Jealousy is spread and Flamethrower is not.
Yeah.
This Mr. Mime is a mistake. He should have probably Trick Room and I don't know, Psychic Dazzling Gleam. Whichever one of those stabs you want. Probably a defensive Mr. Mime.
Yeah.
Or excuse me, not Trick Room in this team. Probably just Dazzling Gleam and Psychic, or even Protect. And then Conkeldurr is here because physical Thunderous is hard. and that's really the fastest thing I could find on your team, between it and Mega Aggron. But it's still good. Don't get me wrong. Guts, Drain Punch, Guts with Drain Punch because you want to be able to offset some of the damage you're taking from your Flame Orb, as well as Mach Punch for priority and Fire Punch for coverage.
Yeah, all good. I think also like there's room on this team to like move items around. Like Shaman doesn't necessarily need Wide Lens, though it appreciates it for Seed Flares. Thunderous doesn't need a Mental Herb.
Yeah,
but yeah, Flavor of the Week.
The only really locked in item is the Flame Orb on Conkeldurr, although you can run like Assault Vest, Iron Fist. But if you're going to run Guts, you need Flame Orb.
Yeah, for sure. So now that was a Tailwind team about abusing Serene Grace and other, fast shenanigans, we can also break into the Trick Room mode that Stormy's team has. I've elected to use Chandelure as my setter for this. Give it a sash to make sure that you can at least get one Trick Room up. The fact that you can't be faked out turn 1, I think, helps make that a little more possible. Just beware of like spread moves like Rock Slide, or that can, inadvertently break a sash before you want it to. So to pair with this Chandelure, we have slower Pokemon like Conkeldurr and Mega Aggron that, they're kind of one-trick ponies. They deal a lot of physical damage. The last move on Conkeldurr, by the way, is Thunder Punch. Final row gets cut off whenever there's weird IV stuff above it. So sorry about that. And with that, Dunsparce can actually make really good use of Serene Grace by going first, and it gets a whole bunch of flinch moves like Headbutt and Rock Slide. Beef it up with Coil. It can become a monster. It was used against me very effectively in the gym challenge. And then to pair with that, you have some more supporty Rotom to set screens and ally switch to help maintain type advantage, or to tank a resisted hit. And Shaman Sky, even in a Trick Room team, is just busted AF. Try to pivot it in either like as Trick Room is coming down, or just on switch-ins when a Pokemon like goes down, so it doesn't have to take a hit on the switch in, but like it is a monster. I think one thing to note with this team especially is after Chandelure, like if Chandelure goes down, you no longer have a Trick Room mode, just because there's no other setters on this team. So at that point, you really need to embrace the like, all right, I'm going to be Mach Punching with Conkeldurr more. I'm going to be bringing out Shaman Sky for more immediate like speed pressure. Aggron also functions decently out of Trick Room just because of how much bulk it has, but that bulk gets wore down pretty quickly if it's special damage in particular. So keep Rotom in play with that. That can tank a few hits, which is why this Rotom is more physically that should be more specially defensive. So regardless. Yeah, that's about all I got.
Yeah, this is a pretty standard one. This, like, Stormy's team especially has a lot of flexibility in like what she can bring. There's really not, outside of like really Shaman Sky being basically mandatory because that Pokemon is broken. Like the rest of the slots are really flexible, and you can kind of suit whatever it is to the week.
Yeah. All right. Up next, we have Post Structure. I think, is that right? No, it's Feanor. Sorry, Post.
Feanor, yeah.
Sorry,
Feanor, we didn't get this out before your match.
Yeah, oops. And all right. So, Feanor's team, we got Mega Diancie, Rotom Heat, Kartana, Jellicent, Articuno Galar, Scrafty, Escavalier, Exeggutor, Alola, Riolu, and Cradily.
This is the world's best Glastrier team that doesn't have Glastrier.
Exactly. Definitely the last few draft picks kind of had a bit of anti-synergy for the team, but it's fine. Like, it's still a solid draft otherwise.
Yeah.
I think an important thing to note when drafting meme Pokemon like Riolu is they have very specific niches, and you don't want to make it try to do things that it wasn't built to do, i.e., you probably don't want to even slap an Eviolite on Riolu because it's going to die in one hit no matter what. So slap a either Focus Sash on it or, God, I don't even know what. But yeah, don't make it like a follow me bot. It doesn't have the bulk for that. Like, use it for your copycats or your coachings.
Faint
Faint,
as well.
yeah.
About it though.
Yeah. I guess not meme Pokemon related. You do have a pretty good spread of defense and special defense throughout your Pokemon. Definitely take note of like Cortana in particular being weak to special hits, but I think that's a very easy thing to pivot around. But while you have a lot of good defensive Pokemon, the offensive ones are a few like Mega Diancie and Cortana and Escavalier, which all function well in different settings. So you have to be careful as to how you're actually going to be providing offensive pressure. So
Well,
just
I mean, Articuno Galar is also pretty offensive, but
that's true. Yeah. I think it's just in terms of like more so being able to reliably get that damage off because Articuno, I feel like you're almost going to be like it's your primary form of speed control on this team. So I feel like you're going to be running it as a support or at least with supportive moves a lot of the time. So while that can't provide offensive pressure all the time, Pokemon like Kartana and Rotom, or not Rotom, Mega Diancie have more of that ability to, alleviate the pressure that would otherwise be placed on your supports.
my Articuno does not have EVs on it. Nice. Wait, hold on. Which one did you do?
I think I did the. God, why did we name them so similarly? I did the.
Did you do Tailwind or Trick Room?
I think I did Tailwind because I did Trick Room for Stormy's team.
Oh, okay. Well, the joke is we named them similarly because it's literally the same 6 Pokemon.
Yeah.
The thing is that with the kind of gimmick we decided to do here is, and this is more specific to best of threes, which everybody's going to get to play at least one because of the new way playoffs work. But well, I don't know if it's specific for this season. I don't know if that'll continue. Basically, these are the same 6 Pokemon that your opponent can load into the match and say, "I don't know what he's doing," and not in a bad way, because this could be Trick Room and this could be Tailwind. Articuno gets both. Jellicent gets Trick Room.
And Cortana gets Tailwind.
Diancie gets Trickwind. Cortana gets Tailwind.
Yeah.
The difficult thing with this, though, is even though this is a Trick Room team, brought Cortana anyway, because sure, the Trick Room does allow you to do a lot of damage, and also, like basically guaranteed your underspeeding. Or that you're having speed control. But at the end of the day, you still need to kill stuff, and Cortana is your best way of murdering stuff.
Yeah.
So you got a pretty defensive Diancie with Body Press, Diamond Storm, Mystical Fire. This is absolutely awful. I hate it. It's good, don't get me wrong, but a Pokemon that can both boost on the defensive side as well as drop special attack is really kind of busted.
Yeah.
Cortana with Assault Vest to help partially cover up its awful special defense. It's still not taking a fire hit, but maybe it'll take something else. Or maybe it'll take like a hidden power fire from something bad. Rotom Heat. This is a offensive Rotom Heat. With Nasty Plot and Overheat. Nasty Plot helps you offset the downside of Overheat, although it does have anti-synergy with Volt Switch. But it allows your Rotom to stay in for more than one turn after it presses Overheat, which is nice.
Yeah.
Articuno, it presses Trick Room and then it Freezing Glare and Air Slashes you to death. It's very fun. It's like you're fighting Stormy again. Scrafty. This one is more offensive than. This is more offensive because it is slow, which means it benefits from the trick room, so you have close combat and crunch. The red card was kind of just me not knowing what item to give it, so I gave it the red card. It could really be any item. Most of these could really be any item, honestly. The only one that I would, well, but obviously Dancy needs to be Mega Dancite, but Kartana, I would say you really want the Assault Vest unless you're running like a Life Orb set or something, or like a Z move.
Yeah.
And then Jellicent, obviously, it just does Jellicent things. It sits there, it eats hits, it's bulky. This one is not Water Absorb. It's important to remember especially with Jellicent, it's important to switch abilities based on need. Sometimes you don't need that water immunity, and you'd rather have Cursed Body, which Cursed Body is a really underrated ability. You can just straight up win games you had no business winning because of it.
Yeah.
Anything else to add, Bauer?
No, I mean, I think you covered just about everything. I think the disparities between Kartanas you will see soon. There's just so many ways to run it, but it really depends on like how the rest of your team is available to support it as your like hard carry hitter. So yeah, coming into my team, it is instead Tailwind. So you can see Tailwind is on both Kartana and Articuno Galar. A note on Kartana, it is holding the Flyinium Z because Z Tailwind, like the Landsat Berry and Focus Energy, will give you a +2 crit chance. So moves like Leaf Blade and Night Slash will always crit when you use them, which is kind of gross on a Pokemon with base 181 attack. So
yeah, Kartana with that set can kind of kill neutrals, or can easily Oko even resist sometimes.
yeah, and then Beast Boost comes in, and yeah, it's all downhill from there. Yeah, on the more defensive side, we have a support Rotom. You can also pack like Ally Switch on this thing if you wanted to help tank a neutral hit or tank a resisted hit for Kartana. But otherwise, it's here to set screens and then pivot out into a different support after it tanks a hit or two. Scrafty provides the fake out pressure, taunters for anyone. If you see like Trick Room setters on the enemy team, taunt is your best friend. Fake out buys you a turn, and then taunt secures the deal on the next one. Jellicent, similarly, like you can give this a Water Absorb if you need, but Cursed Body, it's there to sponge hits, although this one is also more offensive, with the, having actual stab moves of Scald and Shadow Ball in addition to Ice Beam coverage. Destiny Bond also gives you another option if there's a specific Pokemon that is going to give you trouble. Pivoting Jellicent in, leading with Destiny Bond can just, help take out something that you were otherwise afraid of. Articuno Galar is basically the exact same set, except you're running Tailwind instead of Trick Room, and Eevee to match. And then Diancie, no body press, but the addition of Protect here, it's what it says on the tin. You know what you're signing up for with this set. Like most Tailwind teams, it's important to not let the enemy get Trick Room up, because that will make your life a living nightmare. This team honestly can handle it a little bit if you haven't set Tailwind already, because you have slower Pokemon like Scrafty and Jellicent, which you don't need to actually pack like speed EVs into, because Scrafty handles priority with Fake Out. Jellicent is there to tank hits anyway, but the rest of your Pokemon really don't want to see a Tailwind go up, so be extra careful.
You could honestly, if you're not super worried about your Jellicent hitting hard, then you're not hitting at all, you can maybe even run min speed on it if you're really worried about Trick Room.
Mm-hmm.
Even on a Tailwind team.
Yeah. All right, I think that's about all I got. You have any final words?
A general piece of draft advice, not directed at anybody in particular. It is usually a good idea to begin with the end in mind.
Yes. We can
Yeah.
cover more draft-specific things at the end.
Yeah.
All right. Up next, we have posted
He knows what he did.
structure. Oh, rolled. Let's see.
Forward-facing post is sure something.
All right. The front facers coming at you live with Mega Charizard Y, Melmetal, Garchomp, Gastrodon, Zeraora, Venusaur, Murkrow, Alchemy, Lapras, and Masharna. So,
It's like
these-
half a Sun team.
yeah, I mean, just having Gastrodon, Venusaur, Mega Charizard Y there is enough to strike fear into the hearts of every man, but having additional hard hitters like Melmetal and Garchomp, I think, make this particularly scary. An interesting thing to note here, Melmetal has a little bit of anti-synergy with the Sun team because it takes additional damage from fire attacks, and its special defense already isn't that great, which most fire attacks tend to be. However, it still functions as a defensive pivot pretty well for either Zard Y or one of your other threats or moves that threaten Pokemon like Gastrodon or Venusaur. Gastrodon, I think, in particular, is of note as a cornerstone for this team, as it redirects the water moves away from Mega Charizard. However, be mindful of spread moves like Surf and Muddy Water that will still pose a significant threat to Charizard. And like all teams, but especially here, Mega Charizard cannot hold a Chardy Berry and will get withered down by a Rock Slide or Stealth Rock. So
Or
be
even
careful.
Hidden Power Rock.
Yeah.
It's not bulky.
Yeah. I think the C tiers allow you to get kind of interesting flavor of the weak stuff, but with Masharna as your only like real Trick Room option to set Trick Room for Melmetal, you have to be careful about committing to a full Trick Room team. Just be mindful of that as you're planning out how you're going to maintain speed control, be it just having Zeraora on the field, or packing Tailwind on Charizard, or having additional support via Pokemon like Masharna to keep Melmetal alive.
Yeah. This Gastrodon is that. How do they change its IVs but not its EVs? That's really impressive.
I want to say that the Showdown automates it, so if you don't have a physical move, your IVs are automatically set to 0. So
Okay,
that
that's
might be
fair.
what happened.
Yeah, foul play shenanigans. But yeah, I don't really have anything to add to the general overview. Just be careful, especially with your Garchomp, because clicking like they already mentioned this in the overview, but clicking Earthquake is hard. You have 2 immunities and a bunch of stuff that does not want to eat Earthquakes.
Yeah. Just whether it's packing Protect on stuff, or I don't know, how else would you offset Garchomp Earthquakes?
I am actually going to go against something what they said in the overview. Stomping Tantrum is literally the same BP as Earthquake and doubles. I don't know what they were talking about. It's not that bad.
Just single target.
Yeah, single target. But it's better than murdering your Zeraora or not being able to click Earthquake when it's out.
Yeah. I ran Stomping Tantrum on my Metagross a whole bunch Season 1, and I turned out okay. So you can too.
Code did it too last season a lot.
Yes.
I know, because that Stomping Tantrum was a very good move against sand teams.
You don't say. Brock doesn't like it?
Yeah, nope. Or Steel. But yeah. So going through, this is your fairly standard Sun setup. Zard Y, Venusaur. I gave this Z, or Gracium Z to Venusaur, because you can actually Z Sleep Powder, and even if your Zard, like Z Sleep Powder is a backup strategy for your Zard Y dying, because it does actually give you +1 speed. Or you can just use what is the name of that move?
Of what?
Z Energy Ball, basically. I forgot the move. But to just murder something. That's another very flexible item. Zard is running its stabs as well as Scorching Sands for coverage. That has been a very nice buff for Charizard post Isle of Armor is Scorching Sands.
Yeah, catch rock types off guard, I think, is the most prominent threat.
I think it had Focus Miss before, but
We don't count that as a move.
yeah. I had to double check that. I'm not too sure. Garchomp is running Scarf because you don't have great speed control, but Garchomp is fast enough that it can even outspeed stuff in Tailwind with Scarf. Just running Stabs as well as Dragon Claw and Iron Head for coverage. Bog standard set. Gastrodon is supposed to be defensively EV'd, but it is not. It's Storm Drain. It comes in on water moves. It clicks +1 Scalds and Earth Powers in your face, and even if it doesn't get a boost, it clicks Yawn. And it's got Lefties and Recover, and you hate your life. It really sucks.
Yeah, if any of you saw my match with Techno today, if you saw what Aromatisse did, that's it. Gastrodon can do that, but better. Be careful.
Gastrodon could do that, put all your Pokemon to sleep, and provide continuous pressure with Scalds and Burns. Or not Burns, Earth Powers. You don't always want Burns because you'd rather Yawn stuff.
Yeah.
And then Alchemy. Sash set with Decorate, Get Dazzling Gleam, Mystical Fire, and Protect is a bit more supportive. It still can't really take a hit, which is why it's Sash. But Decorating, there are a lot of endgame scenarios where you've taken out 1 or 2 flying types, and you can just get a Decorate off on your Garchomp and click Earthquake 5 times and win the game. There are ways to just sort of checkmate your opponent like that.
Yeah.
Oh, and I totally glossed over the Zero Aura, but it's a pretty standard set. Fake Out, Plasma Fist, Play Rough, Protect, Coverage, Speed. It is going to be the fastest thing on the field, period, outside of Tailwind.
Yeah. Base 143 speed. Kinda OP.
And nobody drafted Baramosa or Regieleki, so...
You're telling me no one drafted Ninjask either?
I forgot that was a Pokemon.
Understandable. Alright, so that's pretty standard sudden team. I think my team is a bit of a different direction. You still have Mega Charizard Y just because it's an absolute nuisance. Running Flamethrower, Solar Beam, Air Slash as your offensive checks, but really the star of the show here is going to be Melmetal. Musharna is here to set up Trick Room for it, as well as provide support with Ally Switch and keep itself alive with Pain Split. Now with Trick Room up, Melmetal is quite likely to be the slowest thing on the field, which means your double Iron Bashes and their ridiculously high flinch chances can just absolutely demolish your opponent. So aim of the game, if you lead with Melmetal early before Sun comes up, you also give it better survivability. Alchemy here, very similar set. You can set light screens to help offset Melmetal's, mixed to mediocre special defense, as well as Decorate to, amp up its damage, and then Aromatherapy in case it gets burned. Gastrodon, same thing as before, except if you want another opportunity to whittle down your opponent, you can use Toxic instead of Yawn. Just depends on whether you want to incapacitate an opponent completely or turn it into a stall battle, which Gastrodon enjoys thanks to Recover.
It's also showing off that Gastrodon can be 2 different colors, which is pretty cool.
If you're running anything other than Gastrodon East, you're feeding. That's all I have to say on the matter. And then Venusaur... I guess Yawn also would make sense with Gastrodon here, considering you're considering running Sleep Powder on Venusaur, but it's just another way to cripple an opponent before they can get an attack off. Wide Lens is for the consistency with Sleep Powder, since it only has 75 accuracy, though as VGC has shown, that is a risk that some people are willing to take. And with Chlorophyll and Weather Ball, it just really serves to synergize with Charizard as far as providing another offensive threat goes. So... these two, Musharna and Gastrodon, are going to be your main tanks. Keep Melmetal up for a lot of physical pressure, and then Charizard and Venusaur for special coverage.
yeah, it's, these are both pretty standard sets, and there's a lot of different ways you can do it. I don't recommend not bringing Y ever. It's too integral to your team's success, in my opinion. This is coming from the guy that the only match he lost last season was to the one day he did not bring Tyranitar.
Yeah, if you have a weather team, don't act like you don't.
Yeah, you gotta deal with it. Which you don't really have that hard of a weather team, but at the same time, Y is just so good. Also, shout out to you can, if you do pledges, you can basically G-max your Charizard.
Yes, Fire Pledge, Grass Pledge creates whatever burning brush on the enemy side of the field, which does a lot of residual damage at the end of every turn.
It wouldn't be something I bring every week, as shown by the fact that neither of our sets have it, but it is a unique thing, especially against people that don't have good fire types.
Yeah. All right. Up next, we have Eggpling.
Full disclosure, I was very heavily involved in helping him draft this team.
Wow. At least you're honest. Due to our, God, what's that called? The standard, our journalism standards. Here's our ethics policy, where we admit all of our conflicts of interest.
Hey, man,
anyway.
I want my analysis to be as fair as possible, and if people don't know, then...
Impartial.
Yeah.
All right. Eggpling and the Journey to the West, the Sutra Seekers, are Celesteela, Keldeo, Zarude, Infernape, Whimsicott, Mamoswine, Slowking Galar, Mega Ampharos, Crustle, and Vaporeon. So, just taking a look at this team, I feel like you have a very good mix of physical and special attack. As far as like building your team around Celesteela, it can really serve as like a very strong foundation for your team, but you need to save it for late game most of the time to clean up threats after they're gone. It can be useful early for setting Leech Seed or whatever, but really like the threatening parts of Celesteela come when your opponent has no other options and has to get either Leech Seeded and watch as you set up a substitute and heal through it, and then can just like autotomize, throw heavy slams on it, what have you. You have kind of limited speed control, primarily through Whimsicott, although you do have Slowking as another Trick Room setter and what have you. But be sure to preserve those Pokemon so that they can set up Trick Room or Tailwind more than once in a given match. Otherwise, I mean, the deck is out of your hands, so to speak.
Yeah. So the first set, which he has the name off screen, but it's labeled Egg, don't do this. So Keldeo is best known for being a really good special attacker. But, like the other Swords of Justice, it does have Justified. And you do have Whimsicott, who could beat up your own Keldeo and get it to +6. It has a decent move pool to support this, surprisingly. But not something I'd bring every week or more than once, really.
Yeah.
But, Whimsicott, none of these have EVs, apparently. Oh, no. Just the first two, I'm assuming. Whimsicott, just standard stuff. It is good to, even if a mon has Prankster, it's usually good to have at least one attacking move on it. That way you don't get taunted and then just have to press struggle or switch. Whimsicott is kind of frail, so gets a sash. Infernape is a mixed attacker, so it can run this sort of stuff where it has its special attack, or along with Fake Out, or it could run a physical set. This one has Blaze because Iron Fist doesn't really do anything if you're a special attacker.
Yeah.
Mamoswine, Banded. This thing absolutely destroys fools. Even a Banded Ice Shard can do a lot. Zarude. This one is just running its 2 stabs along with Jungle Healing. Jungle Healing can be very useful if either of your physical attackers, or if any of your 3 physical attackers get burned, or just to help your Celesteela do its BS. As well as just your absolutely bog standard, please kill me, Celesteela set. Just kind of sit there, Leech Seed, Toxic Sub. What are you going to do? Just kill the things that have fire and electric moves, and then Celesteela can take over a game on its own.
Yeah. Absolutely disgusting Pokemon. And speaking of which, if you instead want to opt for I hesitate to say early game, but if you want to set up your Celesteela early and turn it into a sweeper, Power Herb Meteor Beam is always an option to give it just ridiculous special offensive pressure early on and go to fucking town. So yeah, that set, pretty self-explanatory. Whimsicott, similarly, you're not running beat up this time, but you do use it for speed control, set up screens, as well as Helping Hand to even further increase the damage that your Celesteela can pump out. Slowking Galar acts as more of a support, where you can use Heal Pulse on your Celesteela to keep it alive and healthy, since you won't be getting that additional healing from Leech Seeds that you would normally be getting. And it provides its own special offensive pressure in its own way. It has really good coverage. Scald for the fire types that threaten Celesteela. Mamoswine is there to threaten the electric types with an absolutely ridiculous high horsepower. Assault Vest helps also make sure that it isn't dead in the water to other fire attacks, provided your opponent is running a special fire type.
Although it is so it doesn't actually have a fire.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot. Thick Fat helps offset that anyway. So you're good, man. Keldeo, I actually had a bit of a hard time putting together a Keldeo set for this, so perhaps it could be swapped out for Zarude or something. But Waterium Z gives you a nuke when paired with Scald, which otherwise has kind of underwhelming damage. The burn chance is nice, but really there are going to be some times where you just absolutely need to destroy a threat, and Waterium Z is a good way to do that. Quick Guard helps give you some protection from, your fake outs, enemy prankster users, what have you. I don't know. I don't have a whole lot to say about this Keldeo set. I'm sure it has room for improvement. And then Infernape, pretty much the same deal as Lazanin's set. Exists to fake out, exists to pop off a fire or fighting move. This one's physical instead of special, but same diff. Yeah.
You can run Iron Fist sets. It's decent stuff for that if you want to run an Iron Fist with physical, because Blaze is not a super ideal ability.
Yeah. It's just kind of rough in the ability department. Both of them are kind of like situational. At least Blaze can, inadvertently proc if you take enough damage, versus Iron Fist, which you need to plan for in advance.
Yeah.
Let's see. Anything else about Egg's team, or shall we move on to our...
No, that's about it. The only other, we didn't show off a Trick Room mode, but that is also a pretty good thing you can do with Mega Ampharos.
Yeah, for sure. Slowking and Celesteela actually has low enough speed to really take advantage of that too. Hell, Crustle is also there. Bulky boy, doesn't mess around, has 105 attack as well, so you got options.
Nobody does it in TDD for some reason.
Too many things to punch.
All right.
And
OJ.
Last but certainly not least, we have OJ. And the Seattle Suicune. That is not it. There we go. The Seattle Suicune are Tapu Lele, Suicune, Mega Venusaur, Dracovish, Crobat, Blaziken, Umbreon, Lucario, Zebstrika, and Clawitzer. A whole bunch of interesting Pokemon here. Tapu Lele, I think, as an S tier especially, don't get me wrong, very powerful. 130 special attack is nothing to sneeze at. You can run very effective Titanium Z sets off of a Focus Blast or what have you. But Psychic Terrain has the potential to bite you in the butt here. Make sure that you protect Pokemon like Venusaur and Blaziken that really don't want enemies to have boosted psychic attacks. And while it does provide you anti-flinch pressure, you also have a whole bunch of from fake out users. You also have a whole bunch of inner focus Pokemon that can also have the ability to avoid flinches. So don't feel like you have to run Psychic Surge in a given week unless you have like a reason to, or that there's no other Pokemon on your team that is threatened by it.
Telepathy is also a very good ability, and you can run Earthquake on Dracovish or Surf on Suicune. I think that's about it.
Yeah.
I guess Discharge on Zebstrika, but
Probably not the first choice. What else? Oh yeah, you also do not have. So you have good Tailwind mode with both Suicune and Crobat, able to set it up without any problems due to being unable to flinch thanks to Inner Focus. However, you have no Pokemon that can get Trick Room, which means that you have to have very calculated ways to play around it if your opponent does decide to run it.
Literally your only anti-Trick Room measure are taunts, which you have a couple of good taunters. You have Umbreon, Crobat. Crobat especially is quite fast, and Umbreon is almost never dying on the first turn it's on the field. But other than that, you do have to be careful, because if you get a Trick Room, if somebody just runs a Mental Herb, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
I guess click taunt twice. That'd be one hell of a read.
Yeah.
So my first set is your pretty standard. It's got a Tapu Lele, who clicks its stabs and has Calm Mind, and no EVs. Crobat. Flyanium Z once again coming in. You can tell we had just discovered it on the day we were making these notes because we have not one but two uses of it. But yeah, Cross Poison is a boosted crit move, so you can auto crit poison moves, which poison is not a bad stab. It does suffer from having a immunity, which is a very common type on teams because it's part of one of the cores. But still pretty good.
Yeah.
Brave Bird is also a great move, but mostly the Crobat's here for Tailwind. Blaziken, it has Psychic Seed, so that it can fire off 110 BP acrobatics. Bulk up for setup, Blaze Kick. You can actually take over games with this sort of set. Suicune is another Tailwind setter with Calm Mind, as well as Chestoberry and Rest, because Suicune is just so nice, you gotta play it twice. Gotta get through 2 health.
Yep.
And that second one probably has a couple of special defense duos on it.
Love it.
Clawdzer really does not function without a Choice Scarf, which is a bit of a problem. Even in Tailwind, it can sometimes get outsped by other Choice Scarfers. But Terrain Pulse is absolutely disgusting amounts of damage. Dragon Pulse, Dark Pulse, Water Pulse. I mean, it's Clawdzer. It presses its pulse buttons. That's what it does.
Yeah.
And this is a bulky support Zebstrika. The Me First could be realistically switched for a number of different moves. I just wanted to show off that it had that move. But Ally Switch, Thunderwave, yeah, it's really just annoying.
Yeah,
but
Lightning Rod, I think, especially helps provide a bit of a reprieve for Pokemon like Suicune and Clawitzer and Crobat who don't want to be taking those electric moves.
This team does have a really bad electric weakness without it. And you can Volt Switch to pivot it out after it's taken the necessary moves, too.
Yeah.
You can use it to safely get in your Clawdzer, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is, again, a very not, this is by no means set in stone. Especially not the EVs, of which 2 Pokemon are lacking them.
Yeah. I feel like also, well, I had a thought and then it left. Oh well.
Rip.
I think, tailored the movesets in particular to whatever you're facing that week. If your opponent has a whole bunch of electric type Pokemon, it might not be worth to bring all of these electric weaknesses, even with Zebstrika. So if that's the case, I don't know, bring in Umbreon to tank a hit or two. Even Mega Venusaur. Yeah. So you got options.
I just noticed neither of ours are running Dracovish.
Just run Strong Jaw Fisher's Friend. That's it. That's Dracovish as a Pokemon.
You press the Choice Scarf button, which is kind of awkward because Klotzer also really needs the Choice Scarf.
It's simple. Just click the fish move, win a game. That's it.
Exactly.
All right. I guess moving on to my set, we have Z Celebrate Umbreon with Baton Pass. So similar to the first set that we showed off for Whiskey Tattoo's team, you can hella buff a Pokemon in one turn and then send it off to one of its friends. You have the necessary Celebrate for that. Wish is another option to, Umbreon as a Wish support Pokemon is nothing new. And Snarl to help give, to take away special attack pressure from your opponents. If physical attacks are more of a threat, you can always run Foul Play. But yeah, Umbreon is here to take hits, and, once it gets initially set up, send that to someone else who can make more use of the offensive boost that it brings. Venusaur is a very good candidate for that. It gets a lot of bulk after it Mega Evolves, something ridiculous like 120 for both defense and special defense. And then, set up recovery with Leech Seed. Your attacks do a lot more damage. Giga Drain to further increase your longevity. Honestly, a monster to receive an Omni Boost like that. You can also run Psych Up on quite a few of these Pokemon to copy the Omni Boost as well. In the event that you don't want to Baton Pass and just copy Umbreon then and there off the lead.
Venusaur basically has two weaknesses after it Mega Evolves.
Yeah.
Psychic and Flying. Very notably Psychic, though.
Yeah, especially in Psychic Terrain, which is why this Tapu Lele is running Telepathy. You don't want to give your opponents advantages if you don't have to.
Yeah. Also, go to the Umbreon. If you really wanted to, and you were really worried about, they had like a Hazer or something, or not Haze. No, it is Haze. Like, if you really think that the Z Celebrate planet isn't going to work for whatever reason, A, not sure why you packed it to begin with, but B, you can actually Z Wish to increase Umbreon's special defense. That is an option. Would not recommend it, but it is technically a flexibility thing you can do.
Yeah. What does Z Baton Pass even do?
Resets lowered stats.
Okay, don't do that, probably. Actually, of all of the moves that do that, I guess it makes sense on Baton Pass, but...
That is probably the least garbage move to have resets lowered stats.
Yeah. Let's see what else.
If you get, intimidated 4 times, you can Z Baton Pass to switch into your Blaziken.
You sure can. What else? Suicune, same deal. Instead of Rest for Longevity, you just got your leftovers, but behind a substitute that isn't going to die in one turn. And then Calm Mind to make even future substitutes have even more health. Disgusting. Also provides a little more offensive pressure. Tapu Lele, whole bunch of moves. You know the drill. Deal damage with your monster special attack set. Crobat is here as your primary Tailwind. Also has Taunt for enemy Trick Rumors. Doesn't make as good use of Cross Poison, so we have U-Turn to give you some pivot potential to keep momentum up. And Banded Blaziken is your primary form of physical damage here, barring a Brave Bird off of Crobat.
Banded Blaziken also has that nice Earthquake for your Tapu Leles.
Yes. Take advantage of those newfound immunities.
And, you could also do it with your Crobat out.
Yeah.
But, all in all, very flexible. You could also run Scarf on Lele here. Not the worst idea in the world.
Yeah, for sure. Or a Z move if you find yourself missing coverage and anything. Lele has a decent special move pool for taking care of a lot of threats.
I would definitely not recommend the Topo exclusive Z move, especially for Lele, because you can usually do more than 75% of someone's health anyway.
Yeah.
But
definitely meant for more Feeny types that don't deal damage the traditional way.
Yeah, other than that, that's sort of the general overview and a couple of example sets for everyone. Again, do not literally copy paste these sets. You will be missing EVs for one, and for two, like these are not optimized. That your opponents sometimes like some of these moves will be flat out useless in some matches, and you're gonna feel like an idiot.
Yeah.
Prep.
Research
TDD
what breakpoints there are for like damage as far as like how much attack you need to EV to KO something. In my match against Dimitri today, I EV'd and IV'd my Mawile to underspeed Magneton by 1 in Trick Room so I could hit it with a Brick Break. Stuff like that is how you can like gain the upper hand even if the matchup isn't obviously in your favor, just by, you know, outsmarting your opponent more or less. And also, if you have questions about what breakpoints you should be hitting, or like how you can make these sets tailored for a custom week, feel free to reach out. There's a whole bunch of guys in Timer Ball who are more than happy to help you figure out how to make a team work.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose the only person I can't speak for absolutely is Nitesh, although I guess maybe you can, Bauer. But
Nitesh always knows fun gimmicks to run.
Okay, fair enough. I didn't know if he was okay with people DNing. That was the only thing. I know the rest of us are, but I don't know.
Yeah. No explicit permission, but I doubt he'll say no.
Yeah. But, like, literally the rest of us absolutely love talking about the game. We're always willing to help, and helping people grow makes the whole league better, and having the league better means better competition. In an ideal world, there wouldn't be a division split. That's my opinion.
Agreed. Although I think it is nice that we have the ability for people to not like get stomped by veterans in their first time in the league. So
hey, don't get me wrong, it's a good thing for it to exist. But I want y'all to I want Dimitri to look at the list next season. Did I just dox him? I'm sorry.
No.
I don't know if you actually said his name on the main channel before, but whatever.
I think he has, regardless.
I want him to look at the entire list of quick wall players and be like, man, I really don't I don't know who would move the timer. You're all so good. But yeah, research advice, like we said, speed points. Always keep in mind that Tailwind doubles. Trick Room is reversed. If you have an Ultra Beast, make sure you pay attention to what its highest stat is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that applies to anybody but Fëanor.
Well, there's Kartana and Egg has Celesteela.
Oh, yeah. Celesteela in particular, that is very important on. I forgot about that one.
Yeah.
I don't think
Kartana spec into anything with the Beast boost.
Yeah. Kartana, usually you just want attack.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to not get attacked, honestly. But yeah. Another really cool thing you can do. Showdown has the tabs option. Open the moment you load into your match. And definitely beforehand too, but especially when you load into your map. Open up a tab, make a Nat Dex AG team, and throw the 6 Pokemon you see on your opponent's side into that team. That way you can very quickly check their move pools and stats.
Yeah.
I'm not particularly good about this. I should probably do it more often. I just tend to rely on me knowing what Pokemon do, and sometimes,
Same. We have that level of experience, I think, to know what we're signing up for.
Yeah.
But for people who haven't either been in the competitive scene as long, it's definitely helpful to know, I see an Umbreon on the enemy side of the field. Well, I don't really need to be worried about Dark-type attacks, per se. You know that it's just going to wall whatever you throw at it.
Yeah. Or, it's really useful for surprise coverage. Did you know that, to use an example that's not super good because most people know what Rillaboom does. Rillaboom gets superpower. I don't know why, but it's kind of a weird coverage move.
Centiskorch gets Scald and Power Whip. Don't
Why?
ask where the grass or water comes from. I cannot tell you.
Gyarados gets Power Whip too.
Yep. Serena gets Triple Axle. All of these fun little moves where you're like, oh, I'll throw in a flying type against this grass type, and then it hits you with an ice move. What are you going to do?
Yeah. But yeah, always do some research, figure out what your opponent's is. Try to think of it from their perspective too. Try to think like what Pokemon are completely and utterly useless to bring. Maybe don't like prep less against those.
Yeah.
Do your best to narrow it down that way, because you're never going to be able to cover all 10. Like that is really hard to do unless you're playing against like other teams.
Here, I can actually pull up a, hang on, let me do this. I have a spreadsheet that I am using this season to, like, track, basically, hang on, fucking Chrome, please, to track, like, weaknesses and stuff as I plan, and it might be a, format that makes sense for you guys. Here we go. Is it on? Hello? Oh no. Fucking Chrome, please hold. Or actually, this is more of an OBS thing, but copy, got it. Let's see, is it here? We did it, gamers. Okay, so what you see here is a spreadsheet of all of the Pokemon on Dimitri's team that I just fought this week. And Pokemon that I believe that are good checks to them, either offensively or defensively. The ones highlighted in gold are the ones he actually brought in a given week. Notes for myself on like potential options that I can run, things to look out for, and then the set of Pokemon that I'm going to bring based off of like what I deem is strong against them. If you just set up, this is literally just based off of like type weakness resistance charts. A couple of like minor things can be done here. They're like Porygon, I say counters Glycopod because I'm going to be running Thunderbolt on it, and I like beefed up its physical defense. Like there are ways to adapt Pokemon to counter foes that they normally wouldn't. But even if you're just thinking from straight type resistances, you can see at a glance like Centiskorch is good at over half of Dimitri's Mon, so of course I'm going to bring it on my team. You can see what Pokemon the enemy is extremely weak to. And that might tell you if they're going to bring one of them, but it's not always a guarantee. Like here, the most standout ones for me as like having weaknesses to my team are Aromatisse, Runerigus, and Dhelmise, and they're among the more checked columns here. So just something to keep in mind as you're building out. This helps you see either like Regice, I only have 2 counters for, so do I need to pack like a coverage move on someone else for additional damage, or is Regice not enough of a threat to my team to warrant that?
Considering one of your counters is Megawatt Mile, probably.
Exactly. Like you're not going to be running Regice into Megawatt, and you will. It's similar things for whatever teams that you're building. You're going to know, or not always, but you're going to have a pretty good guess about what Pokemon on your team are hard counters, and if there's enough of them that your opponent likely isn't going to bring them. But I often find that this is just a really simple way to distill, or at least to get me started thinking about the team building process with who I want to bring to a given match.
And another thing for when you're battling, do not be afraid to take a while on your turns to figure out exactly what you want to do. I want to say the first 10 turns of Digger and I's match were half an hour. And like 15 switches.
Yeah, Dimitri's and mine took a similar lengthy amount of time, and whether that's using time to assess win conditions, actually running calcs. Pokemon Showdown has a damage calculator on it. You're not going to know what your opponent is EV'd for, but you can test against max bulk, against min bulk, and see what threatens you, as well as like the actual numbers of what you're going to be dealing to your opponent. So don't be afraid.
That's what it is.
Yeah, calc.pokemonshowdown.com.
Pikalytics also has one.
Yeah. Although I think that defaults to VGC stats.
Does it?
I think.
Hold up. What level is this Obama Snow? Yes, it does.
Yeah. So don't use that one necessarily. It'll roughly translate provided everything's still level 50, because we typically run level 100 mons here, but
yeah. I mean, you can just change the level.
Yeah. But anyway, I think that's about all I got.
Yeah. If you have any specific questions or if you want funny gimmick ideas, if there's one person who's really good at making funny gimmicks work, it's Meteor Power.
Don't. I did come like ninth
Huh?
in season 2 when I ran my gimmick team, so maybe don't. JK.
Well,
I'm always happy to help Theorycraft, and I think Techno has more of a storied history running with. I hesitate to say gimmicks, but just non-traditional stuff. So he also
Yeah.
has a good eye for things that don't
That's
necessarily
real.
come intuitively to new battlers.
Yeah. Uh,
All right, if that's everything,
yeah.
we can
I
call
think
it
it's
here.
better.
Good luck, gamers. Hope this helps your Pokemon team building process. And yeah, feel free to reach out with any questions.
Special apologies to OJ and Feanor because you guys unfortunately played right before we got it recorded.
Oops.
But otherwise, definitely reach out for more questions. Always happy to talk about the game. It's a fun game, and I hope y'all can use this to be better at it.
Yeah. All right. Later, gamers.
See ya.